I will tell you a very interesting short story written by Roald Dahl. And the title of the story is The Invention of Vita, Wonk. In this lesson, we can see a scientist, Mr. Willy Wonka, and he first invented a tonic, Wonka Vitae, which made people younger. Mr. Willy Wonka, the scientist, invents a medicine named as Vita Wonka. This medicine makes people younger. Mr. Wonka mentions different kinds of trees in the lesson, and they are Douglas fir, oak, cedar, Bristol corn pine, and so on. He tells that the Bristol corn trees live the longest for more than about 4,000 years. He gave 4 drops of that black liquid to a 20 years old man named as Oompa Loompa. The volunteer who swallowed 4 drops of the new invention became old, began wrinkling and shriveling up all over, and his hair started dropping off and his teeth falling out, and he turned into a fellow of 75. And the name of the invention was Vita Wonk. Finally, the scientist got success in his new invention of Vita Wonka. And this is a very excellent imaginative story. Now we can go to the lesson in detail. The invention of Vita Wonk. Mr. Willy Wonka begins by inventing Wonka Vitae, which makes people younger. But Wonka Vitae is too strong, so some people disappeared because their age became minus. One person actually becomes minus 87, which means he has got to wait 87 years before he can come back. Mr. Willy Wonka must invent a new thing. So the scientist in this lesson is Mr. Willy Wonka, and he has invented a new thing, that is Wonka Vitae, and it will make the people younger. And it is a very strong medicine, and if you are taking it in a improper way, what will happen? You will even become disappear. And that happened with one person. He was actually become a person with minus 87 years, and he has to wait for about 87 years to come back to this world. Now Mr. Willy Wonka wants to invent a new medicine. Mr. Wonka said, so once again I rolled up my sleeves and set to work. Once again I squeezed my brain searching for the new recipe. I had to create it to make people older. Ha ha ha. I cried, for now the ideas were beginning to come. What is the oldest living thing in the world? What lives longer than anything else? So the need of Mr. Willy Wonka is that he just wants to make a new invention that will make the people oldest, and he is just thinking about it. He's just creeping over it. He's just pondering, and now he got an idea, and he's just asking to his younger scientist that what is the oldest living thing in this world, okay, and what lives longer than anything else in this world. Charlie said, right you are, Charlie, but what kind of a tree? Not the Douglas fir, not the oak, not the cedar. No, my boy. It is a tree called the Bristol corn pine that grows upon the slopes of Wheeler Peak in Nevada, USA. You can find Bristol corn pines on Wheeler Peak today that are over 4,000 years old. This is fact, Charlie. Ask any dendrochronologist you like and look that word up in the dictionary when you get home, will you please? So that started me off. I jumped into the great grass elevator and rushed all over the world collecting special items from the oldest living things. Now we can see Willy Wonka is asking to his junior what is the oldest living thing in this world. And his junior scientist is Mr. Charlie, and he's saying a tree. Then Willy is saying, yeah, you're right, a tree, But can you mention the name of the tree? It is not a common tree. It is not a Douglas fir. It is not the oak. It is not the cedar. But it is a Bristol corn pine that grows upon the slopes of Villa Peak in Nevada, USA. And if you're going to know more about it, you can say it is more than 4,000 years old. And if we are asking to any dendrochronologist means a person, it is a science that study the age of a tree by calculating it. Okay, it is like a tree ring dating. And if you're checking it, you can find it out. It is more than 4,000 years old. And so let me start off. And he just jumped into his great glass elevator, rushing to find out the oldest living things in this world. Billy is ready to search for the oldest living things in this world, and he just wants to collect the specimen of everything. And he is just moving in his great glass elevator. A pint of sap from a 4,000-year-old Bristol corn pine, the toenail clippings from a 168-year-old Russian farmer called Petrovich Grigorievich, an egg laid by a 200-year-old tortoise belonging to the king of Tonga, a tale of 51-year-old horse in Arabia, the whiskers of a 36-year-old cat called Crumpets, an old flea which had lived on crumpets for 36 years, the tale of a 207-year-old Jane rat from Tibet, the black teeth of a 97-year-old grimalkin living in a cave on Mount Popocatépetl, the knuckle bones of a 700-year-old cattle from Peru. So these are the specimens collected by Willie, and he just wanted to do an invention that will make the people old. Instead of making the people younger, he just wanted to make the people old. And in order to make that invention, he just need a specimen of all these things. And the first and priormost thing is the sap of the Bristol corn pine. Sap means a liquid like substance that will be flowing from the trunk of a tree, that is called the sap. Likewise, he is collecting the toenail, then an egg, then a tail, then the whiskers of a cat, then the old flea that was living on that cat, and a tail of a giant rat, and the black teeth of a grimalkin, and the knuckle bones of a cattle. So these are the things that is being collected by Willie. All over the world, Charlie, Mr. Wonka went on. I tracked down every old and ancient animals and took an important little bit of something from each one of them. A hair or an eyebrow, or sometimes it was no more than an ounce or two of the jam scrap from between its toes while it was sleeping. I tracked down the whistle pig, the bobolink, the shrog, the polyfrog, the giant curly, the stinging slug, and the venomous squirkly, who can spit poison right into your eye from 50 yards away. So now Willie is just explaining to Charlie what all things we collected by him, and he is telling that he had traveled all around the world and he has to take a little bit of a specimen from every old thing in this world. But there is no time to tell you about them all now, Charlie. Let me just say quickly that in the end, after lots of boiling and bubbling and mixing and testing in my inventing room, I produced one tiny cupful of oily black liquid and gave 4 drops of it to a brave 20-year-old Oompa Loompa volunteer to see what happened. So now Willie is just saying to Charlie that I have taken all the specimens so far, and with that I have just did my experiment in my inventing room. and I produced just a tiny cup full of oily black color liquid and just gave few drops of it to a brave 20-year-old person called Omba Lomba, and he's a volunteer. Okay, and nowadays we are having the volunteer for the testing of COVID medicines. Likewise, he was also a volunteer for this invention. What did happen? Charlie asked. It was fantastic, cried Mr. Wonka. The moment he swallowed it, he began wriggling and shriveling up all over, and his hair started dropping off, and his teeth started falling out, before I knew it, he had suddenly become an old fellow of 75. And this, my dear Charlie, was Vita Wonk invented. So, here Willie is explaining to Charlie what had happened after giving the drops to Oompa Loompa. What happened to him? All of a sudden, he started wrinkling. He just started getting wrinkles on his face and body, and he started shriveling, and his hair was falling down, and his teeth also fell down. And just within a fraction of a second, what happened? He just become an old fellow, 75. A person of 20-year become a person of 75, and this is how Vita Wonk invented. This is all about the lesson, just a funny imaginary story. I hope you understood and read the textbook thoroughly. Thank you.